Hello, beer tubers, and welcome to another Skype collab review with a fellow Scandinavian, or actually you're from England, Darren.
That's right, that's right.
You probably recognize this guy. This is Darren from Beer Sweden, one of Sweden's biggest beer blogs, actually. And we're going to do a collab review today on a Swedish beer that I bought when I was in Gothenburg. And it's from Nils. It's their Hopyard IPA, which is a regular IPA on 7.3% alcohol. And it's brewed with Amarillo, Citra, and Nelson Sauvin, which is really nice. And Simcoe too, in Cascade, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Some of my favorite hop varieties in there.
Yeah. Cool. No, it's really, I think, probably one of the biggest heavyweight Swedish. Well, they call it an IPA actually, Peter, but I'm not quite sure whether we can classify it as an IPA. I think it's kind of like treading into the boundaries of double IPA, don't you?
Okay.
7.3.
Well, it depends. When I usually think double IPA, I think like the big West Coast IPAs on 8 and all. But yeah, it's kind of getting up there. And
yeah, but it's the closest we can get to it up here in sort of in the Nordics, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got a kind of a West Coast malt mix, you know, with the pale malt and a little bit of caramel there as well. So it's the closest we're ever going to get to California, Peter.
Yeah, which is quite nice.
Without further ado, let's get going.
Let's get it cracked open.
Okay. So, Peter, 500 beers. Are you bored of them yet?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We're just starting.
Okay. Do you know anything about Nils Oskar? Do you want me to tell a little bit of what I know, of course, because, of course, this is a beer from my own sort of home patch, as it were.
Oh, nice. Well, I don't know really anything about the brewery. Because,
okay. I'll give you a little bit of backstory, if you like, in terms of what Nils Oskar is. Started in 1996, actually, so they were kind of like one of the first wave of modern craft brewers, pretty early on. So they're considered, I suppose, it's fair to say, a bit like the sort of grandfathers of craft beer already, if you can say something in 1996 was up. I don't know about you. What's your favourite hop right now?
It's maybe, I think it's Nelson Sauvin or Citra.
Nelson Sauvin, exactly. Well, this has got both of those, and I totally agree with you. Nelson Sauvin, to me, is really, I get pretty excited in that, and there's bags loads of this. It's actually dry hopped with this this hop, so it's going to be cool. So, here it is.
Yeah, well, that's a nice color. Nice golden, fairly clear, clean looking orange color.
Yep. Exactly. Slightly off-white head there, isn't it? So it's quite a nice sort of smoker's teeth head. I like to say that sort of color.
I'd agree.
Oh, absolutely lovely.
Oh, that smells nice. That smells
good, isn't it?
Yeah. Nice and hoppy. The first thing I like that sticks out to me is that that aroma you get with Nelson Sauvin, that kind of white grapey vinous aroma.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Or maybe a gooseberry.
Gooseberry, exactly. You know, it's mimicking that Sauvignon Blanc grape there. So you're getting that gooseberry, and almost like a little bit of like blackcurrant leaves as well. So a little bit of a herby sort of vein to it as well in the nose.
Yeah. But also some like citrusy, American grapefruity aromas in there. Like a tropical fruit maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Nelson Sauvin is really lending that big tropical fruit punch there. So I think it's a really impressive nose on this beer.
Yeah, it smells really nice. It smells like a mix. It smells like a West Coast IPA hopped up with Nelson Sauvin.
Exactly. Should we try it?
Yeah, I'll just put a little more in here.
Oh,
no, you went back. That's pretty nice. That's pretty refreshing too.
Quite sweet, isn't it?
It's not as bitter. I wonder, do you know how many IBUs this is on?
Do you know, I don't, Pete. I was looking for that, but I don't. But I think just from the sensation of it,
it's not
quite sweet up front and not as bitter as I remember it.
I would say maybe in the 70-60 range, maybe around that, because it's not that aggressively bitter. It's more on the fruity, sweet.
Yeah, exactly. I would say it really is quite sweet at the moment, sweeter than I recall. I'm getting a little bit of that caramelized sugar.
There's definitely some sugary flavors there.
Some sugary flavors. And again, it's almost like, in fact, if you leave it about now, it's sort of kicking in. It's a fairly dry sort of bitter finish, but I'm sure, as you say, if you put it up against, and I know that you reviewed lots of West Coast IPAs,
Yeah.
and there you're getting a real sort of punch in the teeth. Here it is, and I think this is pretty much Nils Oskar in a nutshell: refined, sophisticated, quite rounded, elegant sorts of beers. They're not very aggressive. They're nicely constructed, and I think this is another example of it. It's not crazy American,
No.
but it is still a very pleasant drink in itself.
Yeah, it's definitely not like on the American side of hop. I wouldn't say English either. It's kind of in between because it's still quite more hoppy than like an English IPA. The flavors in there, especially in the aftertaste, I get some like slightly resiny flavors, like a pine resin, but still the palate is dominated by that white grapey gooseberry flavor. I think some of the tropical fruity notes, citrus. There's I also get like a bit of sweet malt, and as you say, like a caramelized sugar caramel flavor in there.
I'm getting a little bit of that sort of Nils Oskar. I think it's one of the things I've drunk so much of this, and I've drunk it on draft, and I've drunk a lot of Nils Oskar beers, and this kind of almost dry, slightly ashy sort of finish that I'm getting now. It's a bit like sort of putting tropical fruit on a barbecue for me. You're getting that sort of like barbecued pineapple and peach, if that makes any sense. But I think it's an impressive beer. It's great that we have beers like this now available over here in Sweden, anyway, in the Systembolaget. So it's a widely available, strong IPA, which is pretty cool, actually. For the beer scene over here.
Yeah. This being my first Nils Oskar beer, I went into this without any expectations really, because I didn't know much about the brewery at all. But it's really nice actually. If you're more of into like the in-your-face IPAs, I'm probably sure you wouldn't like it as much. But if you also can appreciate the more balanced ones, because this is really balanced, I think you would appreciate something like this too. I'll definitely be looking to purchase some of the Nils Oskar beers that arrived at my beer store recently, because it's pretty tasty.
Cool. And what would you give it on how do you rate your beers, Peter? What's it on a scale of?
Well, my scale is pretty big. It's 1 to 100.
1 to 100?
Yeah, I like being...
Mine's a measly 1 to 5. Okay, so listen, so how are you going to rate this? What's your score?
I think it's a really good IPA, but it's not really up there with some of the best I've had. So I'm going to give it a really solid 80 out of 100. I think it's a really good IPA. Definitely worth picking up if you get Nils Oskar's beers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think what I'm going to do is actually, I rated this some time ago on Beer Sweden, my blog, and there I gave it 3.9 out of 5. I don't really see any reason to up that. Certainly, I think I'm going to stick. I'm going to stick with 3.9. I think it's, as you say, solid, well made, high quality, but perhaps lacks that little spark, that little bit of craziness that a lot of us are looking for in IPAs, of this strength.
Yeah. It just needs a little extra kick of hop flavor, and then it would be up there.
It would be right up there, exactly. Cool, Peter. I really enjoyed this. Hopefully we'll be able to do some more beers together. Perhaps the next time we'll do a Danish beer. I hear you have a few of them over there. Yeah. And so perhaps we can do another one of these sort of, these one of these collab tastings. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, guys, that wraps it up for the beer review of Nils Oskar's Hopyard IPA. Really, really solid single IPA. Definitely worth picking up if you get Nils Oskar's beers outside of both Sweden and Denmark. I think it makes its way to the US too, because I've seen some American reviewers.
It does,
review it. So definitely worth picking up. Thanks a lot to Darren from Beer Sweden for joining us on this review. Yeah, guys, that's it. Let us know what you think of the beer if you've had it. Remember to check out beersweden.com if you haven't. Or is it SE? SE?
Both, Peter. I've got the whole lot.
Awesome. So remember to check out Beer Sweden. And as always, remember to comment, subscribe, and we're going to say cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, Peter. Take care. Cheers and beers.
Cheers.